Hey there, welcome back. It's Brad here. In this video, we're going to be doing our master copy or master influence painting. So if you're in my beginning painting class, you're going to do the master copy. And basically, you're just going to find an image that you really like from a famous artist, do a little bit of research, figure out how they created that work, and then hopefully you get a good image, like it's a high resolution image from a good source. You know, check out museums. If they own the artwork, there's a good chance they've photographed it and put it online for you to see, and that way you can really zoom in if it's a good high resolution image, and so you can actually see the brush strokes as best you can. So make sure that you can get at least some up close views of your image to help you in that process. But there's also a lot of literature and writings about, you know, how an artist may have worked, you know, typically. Okay, and sometimes that changes over the years, but do some research and try to figure out, oh yeah, this person did this, and I'm gonna try my best to kind of implement some of those things. And you have to adapt it because you might be using a different medium. So if it's like an oil painting and you're using acrylic, it's not going to be exactly the same. So you can't just go use turpentine or something. Like you're gonna have to be creative and figure out, well, what would be like that. So if you have questions, ask me. I can help you out with that. But you know, we're gonna have to adapt some of it, but we can learn a lot from them in terms of like what materials they did use, and excuse me, and we can figure out like just like their brush strokes and their approach to painting as a whole, and adapt that to our own style. And so I don't expect your paintings to look exactly like the painting you're copying from, but I'd actually rather it not. I'd rather you go with their approach rather than trying just to like paint so rigid and just like recreate it. I know people can do that, but I'd actually like you to rather get into the spirit of whatever artist you've chosen and kind of paint in their style more than creating an exact replica of it. But I'd like you to, for the beginning painting students, I would like you to actually copy their image, because that you're going to look at their it gives you the composition, it gives you a lot of stuff in their colors and everything else, so you don't have to focus on too many things at once. All right, but if you're in my advanced painting class, painting 2 or 3, I'd like you to do a master influence. And so in that case, you can find an image that you really like, but then we're going to, or an artist's style that you like, and then make your own image. So I'm going to choose Edward Hopper for my demo. And I've never tried an Edward Hopper style painting, but I do love Edward Hopper. And so I'm referencing this book. And by the way, if you're one of my students, this is a great book for you to do in this project. So you might go out and try to get your hands on one of these. But there's a little bit on Edward Hopper in here. Not very much. This book isn't very good for Edward Hopper. But even this book, it gives you some, excuse me, it gives you a little bit of a breakdown like on how he's working. And also what's nice, it gives you kind of an up close detail down here. There's other artists in this book that work way better, you know, but I'm going to do this Edward Hopper. And the reason why I'm going to do Edward Hopper is because I have chosen to do a lighthouse as my subject matter. And Edward Hopper does lots of lighthouses. And so I have lots of different Edward Hopper books here. So you might want to go to the library, check out, and see what your artist did. Now, again, so this is cool because if you're looking in here, there's going to be some large, I know here we go. So look at this. It's a nice big lighthouse. That's inspiration, right? And so you can actually see the brush strokes in here because the image is like blown up and it's large. I don't know if this is like on a 1-to-1 scale or not. I could look, but I don't know right off the bat. But anyway, get some good images, and so you can actually see what the artist is doing. try your best to figure it out. And we're going to get going right away. Oh, by the way, I just started this. And I was like, oh, I'll do Eyedropper, and I have all these little canvases for my demos and stuff. This is too small. I'm like, I don't even want to do this. It's too small. So I want to be able to use a little bit bigger brushes and kind of, if you're trying just to do it really small, like I can't really, you're gonna have a tough time. If the artist is using big brushes and you're trying to do a master copy and you're using little tiny brushes, you're gonna have a different experience. And yes, you could create like a likeness of their thumbnail, but I really want you to try to paint like that artist. So that is too small. I started sketching it off on here, and then I was like, it's no good. So I had another canvas. So if you're wondering, I'm going to use this one. I was prepping it for another painting, but I'm doing this for a friend because, anyway, I'm doing it for a friend. And so you don't need to know my reasons why, but I wanted to make a nice special painting. And so this painting actually has, or this canvas rather, it's like better stretcher bars, it's thicker, it's going to look better. It feels better to give something like higher quality if you're doing something for a friend. All right, so that's what I'm going to be doing. You guys can give yours to a friend too, if you like, and hopefully spread some cheer and some good vibes out there. So let's get started. All right, so just a few seconds into this, and I was like, I kind of made it, I kept having to get it bigger and bigger, and I'm like, no, I need to get this up in here more, and I might have to move it over this way too because of that lighthouse. And so I'm just trying to find that sweet spot compositionally, like I thought where I wanted it, but I think what happened was I was initially drawing it like thinking that this was the same proportion as my canvas, and it's not. So be aware of that when you're doing your master copy, that whatever image you're doing is not probably gonna be the same size as, you know, your 16 by 20 or your 11 by 14 or your 8 by 8 or whatever, 12 by 12, whatever size of canvas that you're doing. You know, you might have different proportions. So if that's the case, then just crop a section and just do a section of that master copy. You don't have to do the whole thing. So hopefully that makes sense. And hopefully I can adjust this. I'm only like a few seconds into it. I'm already having to move things around a lot. So, all right, so I wanted to show you this kind of update. So I went ahead and I put the horizon line in here. And the reason why I did that, so I could have my vanishing points. And I also wanted to make sure, like in a seascape, like where it's like this, I want to make sure that it's pretty even. My horizon line is even, so it doesn't look like, you know, off balance. So I measured it up from the sides. It's like 7 inches up on both sides. So, and then I used this point because I followed like these lines that you kind of see like from our reference. If you follow those lines, where those lines, like parallel lines in nature, where they seem to come together and converge, that is our vanishing point. And so I've pretty much located, our vanishing point's right about there. I mean, give or take. And so I'm just using that. I'm saying it's the corner of this canvas. It's like, that's the edge of my vanishing point. And so I'm using that, and it's lining up pretty good for my reference. And so I normally don't do linear perspective when I'm doing these things, but I thought for Ed Hopper I would do some linear perspective. So there's that. And then in the photo, like this is like right on the horizon line, but I don't like the water just hitting it there. So I'm going to lift it up a little bit above that, and I'm going to be able to angle that down slightly. But it's pretty much flat, so it's like pretty much on the horizon line, but sometimes you just have to adjust things just slightly so they don't look awkward. All right, and then on this side, you know, how we're going to find this corner is, you know, look at, you know, find a spot, and basically like from the corner right up there to this corner, like from this point down to this point, what's that angle look like? So I'm going to just something like that, and then I go in here, like, okay, it's not perfect. I mean, Is it right there? I don't know. I kind of eyeballed it right there. It's probably going to be more in here. I'll kind of split the difference. I'll look at it, check my sighting methods again. But yeah, it's probably going to be somewhere in here. So I'm going to have to move that line over here. And then just, again, look, my other vanishing point will be over there, but for this building. And that is okay. It's going to be off the page. And that's fine. But just to be aware of it. Anyway, I don't always do linear perspective, but it's something that I think is going to help this this drawing or this painting in particular, because it's this Edward Hopper and he loves lighthouses and buildings and things. So this is for you, Ed, and for others too, and my friends. Okay. All right. So I've drawn in this other side of this building, and basically, again, I've just kind of looked from nature or like from direct observation, like what's that angle? Where are all these lines kind of going back if they're all traveling back? And in 2-point perspective, we've got our other vanishing point. It's going to be on the horizon line now. It's not in here, so we've got it's angling up, and it's over here, and then it meets up on this vanishing point. And so I've just been taking my ruler, and I've just been kind of go up from that bottom corner, and then I just I just kind of put it on a hinge. So I'm not doing this very well while holding the camera, but it just kind of slides like that. So when I want those right there, those angles should line up, that should line up, and it should go the opposite way when it gets above the horizon line. So anyway, that's how I did that. And I think it's important because when I look at, Hopper's work, you can tell he's using linear perspective. He has to be. I mean, it's too good. I mean, he doesn't have to understand the principles of it. I'm sure he does. I'm sure, 100% sure he does. But, even if you don't, you got to just look for angles and match those up. And so, anyway, I was right. When I did my measurings, this part needed to move over quite a bit. So you can see, I had it over here, and then I had to move it. And then I found, the center of this. To find the center, of a square or something, you just go from one corner to another, make an X. That gives you that center point, and then you can draw from there. Anyway, it looks like it all lines up. Even as I'm kind of looking on there, my proportions look pretty good. Of course, I can adjust them with the paint. I'm not going to get a lot of detail, but just getting that stuff in there early on is going to give me the confidence just to paint just like Hopper. Okay, so one last thing that I did. So I'm kind of moving this over a little bit because once I noticed this didn't just go right into there. So I was like, oh yeah, there's a line kind of right here. So I pulled that out, pushed this over, and then I was like, this plane right here, I can actually divide this up. So from that point to that point gives me that center line, and then I can place the center lines in these windows by dividing that square by like that, and that goes up. That gives me the center point for that there, and then this one from that point. So here's the center point. So I had to kind of move I'm still kind of moving that one over a little bit. I'll do the rest with paint, but see how that's how you can find out where things are placed, in a perspective rather than just guessing. And so guessing's fine. Using your eyes is the most important. But if you know little tricks like that, that can also help to get your perspective just right if it's lacking in some way. And so I kind of did the same thing throughout there. But I'll check it as I'm painting and change things. But I think we're set. I mean, I'm gonna draw this in real quick, just sketch out that, not do too much detail, but then we're gonna get in with the paint. Okay, so at this point, I'm just kind of blocking in some colors here. So this background. Now it's not going to stay that way. I'm just kind of covering this purplish gray background. Now I'm kind of looking at some tones. There's this kind of darker kind of patch right in here. I'm going to paint white all over this area. Now I'm going to start including this rainbow, that's in here. And I know it's not a very Edward Hopper thing to do, and I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to do it. It's not in this one, but I was there, and it was so prominent, and it just seemed so fitting. while we were there, and for the and so it's kind of a special thing. So I'm painting this for a friend, so I'm actually gonna include it. I think it's gonna be nice. And um, I did put down this, just so you know, this is just there to preserve my horizon line while I'm kind of blocking in the sky. I'm going to take this down. Ultimately, I'm not going to have this line that crisp in the end, so it's not like I really need that sharp. But I did want to just kind of preserve this while I'm playing with it, so I could paint freely without worrying about like having to redraw it in, because this did have my vanishing point on that spot too. So anyway, all right, so here's kind of the overview, kind of what we're working on. What now? I don't know if this is Hopper-esque right now. I'm trying my best, but uh, one of the things that I did kind of discern from looking at Hopper is very his landscapes, like they're very impressionistic. Really, they're kind of blocked in, and so I'm trying to kind of capture that. Maybe I'll show you an example here in a minute, but I think I'm doing okay just kind of blocking these in. We're in day 2 now, and I've been just painting over this and just changing it up, so just getting it a little bit darker. I've just changed the kind of overall colors a little bit, and I've been kind of getting it like darker, and I'm working in more of these darks and the values. So also notice I'm repainting like as I'm going over this, so I don't get like this like kind of white outline going around it all. I'm actually just painting over it, and then I'm redrawing back in. So I'm not painting over it all at once. So that way I can still say, oh yeah, this part's gone, so I can redraw it back in. So I just took some darker paint and just redrew that in. All right, so we're in day 3 now. I've gone over this sky a few different times. I've really almost like fought this sky for this painting. Um, and I'm trying to do things like Hopper, but I kind of find that it's hard to do it exactly with acrylic, but I'm trying to adapt my style to make it work. And so I've painted over, and now one of the things some of the books and stuff, I said they kind of paint around, like the sky might come in after. Well, I was kind of trying to do that, but like with acrylic, it dries so quickly that you have to. It's too hard to really do that. So I think I have to paint over this and then paint this back in, just get the sky right, because you have to blend it when it's like acrylic. You have to work really fast and really kind of wet, and it dries so fast that you just really have to be quick about it. I did put this rainbow back in. Let's hopefully, or at least the start of it. Hopefully it turns out okay. I'm gonna have to redo this building and redraw it again, and no big deal. But that sky, when you do a big painting or a painting like this, that's a lot of sky. You don't want to neglect the sky. You want to make sure it looks passable. That rainbow in there, and it looks fine. I kind of touched up some of these areas and kind of put some of the water, kind of how it's dripping down. I've done just at least getting that started. I went back and excuse me, started working this area, like redrawing it in, like because I lost all of this when doing the sky. I still have to go back up and draw this part, but just kind of establishing this right now. Just want to make sure that sky is like really good and dry. I'm sure it's dry now. But horizontally with the waves, especially as it gets further and further back. Oopsie! Oh my goodness! And if you make a mistake, well, it's because you're layering on top of this. When it's dry, you can get away with stuff like that. I'm trying to video and do this at the same time, but it was a happy accident. So you guys can learn. Just kind of was doing some of this little chain link fence down here, and I think the key is not to get too detailed. You don't want to draw every little thing, but just kind of hint at it. And so now, easier said than done, because I was working up here and I was drawing with this brush. It's like a 1 or a 2 anyway, and I just got too detailed with it because I just started redrawing this back up in there, and it's just easy. I need to fix this still, but it's just easy to get carried away. So that might be a little bit more detailed than Hopper would have gotten. And so I might have to go back in there and kind of kill some of the detail. But this, make a mistake or you get it on too dark, you can always just like kind of touch it. Let's try that right here. Oh, it's not too dark. Yeah, this other thing too is like as the paint kind of wears off in the brush, you can actually use some of the dry brush to kind of do some of these other parts. So like that wave, maybe it's too big. Just touch it, smear it over. Perfect now. Or I don't know if it's perfect, but it's usable now. You can kind of just touch it up and. All right, so I think we're in our last day for this painting. I'm just going to put the finishing touches up on here. Now I just wanted to show you, because I was looking at, as I'm trying to finish it, I'm trying to make it still learn from Edward Hopper and trying to make this, at least inspired by him, like as best I can. Now, I'm not achieving that very well. As far as the painting goes, I think this is a fine painting. It looks good. And as far as me learning from Edward Hopper, I'd say that's going pretty well too. As far as this looking like an Edward Hopper painting, I don't think it's not at all, really. And part of that is just because I think I started rendering things a little bit more, so I kind of killed any of the impressionistic qualities that it had at one point, and I'm slowly kind of sucking that out of it, and so that's okay. If I were to try this again and try to do another Edward Hopper kind of in his style, I think I'd get closer than I did on this first attempt. But the important thing is for this assignment, for you and for me, is that we're just learning and we keep growing and progressing in our painting. And so for you, I'm looking at this as an assignment like, hey, how are you doing? Are you learning? So it doesn't matter how well yours like copies the artist that you did, or you got their style exactly, or it's really just, it's about learning. And so keep that in mind. If you end up like me, like it's not looking like a Hopper, but it's still a nice painting, and I think that's important to remember too, because we do have our own kind of styles and our own kind of quirks that make our paintings unique to us. Even if we want to learn from other people, which we are, and I am learning from Edward Hopper, and so I would give myself good marks in that I've learned stuff from him, but I've also learned that it's hard to do that. It's hard to be Edward Hopper. It's much more easier to be Brad, and it's much more easy for you guys to be you, and I think that's important too. When we look at an artist, it's not to copy them exactly, it's to learn from them, and so keep that in mind. And right now, I guess what I'm trying to say is for this painting, I'm just going to put some finishing touches on it. I had it a little bit more Edward Hopper-esque at one point, but in order for it to kind of fit the rest of the style, like I'm going to try to bring it more unified, so to speak. And so I'll just finish it up kind of, I think, so it looks appropriate with the rest of the painting. But I am still going to look, it's been great having references to kind of see, well, how would my master artist do a certain thing, and being able to have this out even while you're painting, like the hillside here of this, with the lighthouse is on, so to see those brush strokes, I think it's really, really helpful and important. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to try to finish this up in hopefully, half hour or less, and then sign this and we'll be done with it. But I'll give you one last update here before we go. But anyway, I hope that you're enjoying this project, or I hope that if you haven't started it yet, I hope that you will enjoy this project. And so just remember, keep in mind, even if you fall short of it looking exactly like your master artist style or the master artist painting, it doesn't mean that it was a failure. The main thing is that we're learning and growing as we do these exercises. So, and you know what? Sometimes you just get a cool painting out of it anyway. All right, so let's keep going. All right, I think it's done. I did sign my name on it, so I'm saying it's done. All right, so we finished another painting. Is it my best painting of the quarter so far? I don't know. You let me know. We've got our non-objective, still life, or master influence or master copy, depending on which section you're in. But you guys can let me know below if you guys have a favorite one. And also, I'm going to be starting my landscape. That's what we're doing next. And so I don't know what I'm going to do for that yet, but we'll go out in nature and get inspired. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and this painting project. So I'm so excited to see what you guys are doing. And if you have questions at any point during this process, let me know. I'm here to help. So take care. We'll see you guys next time.